Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Medical Mindset Coach podcast. And I am your host, Star Freudenberg, and I just want to welcome you back to today's episode. So if you have noticed, I have kind of disappeared off the radar for a couple of weeks, and that is not without a reason or multiple reasons. And that's just been simply because I've been studying and sort of when you work in the field of health, wellness, and medicine, you will always find yourself on to the next thing, because in my sort of work, I always find that I will attract a next different type of patient, and then they will present different type of symptoms, and then it'll be something I don't necessarily know about, or I don't know how to treat, or I can only treat to a certain point. And then that, puts me in the position where I go, well, how can I help this person? So then I further advance my studies. But yeah, I think I'll always be a nerd at heart, always have been, always will be, and forever a student of life, isn't it? So, today's episode, I just want to talk to you about the very interesting subject, of what I have been recently studying, which is Tibetan medicine. And the only reason why I'm going to speak about it today is because no one really knows about it. So I figured as part of these podcasts, it will be incorporating things that you will learn about, but as well as things that I'm passionate about that I'd love to share with the world, and fantastic and incredible knowledge that I think people should know about, or at least if I can plant the seed or create the awareness about, I'd love to absolutely do that for you. So, So in the recent weeks, I've just been wrapping up studying Tibetan medicine. It is a doctor qualification, so they call it a Tibetan medicine physician or a Tibetan medicine doctor. It's a 4-year degree, and I've just qualified my first year, so it was quite stressful. There's a lot to know, and why do I think it's quite different to Western medicine? Is that because Western medicine, medicine for me only goes to a certain point. And when we come back to the topic about when I use the word holistic, everyone goes, oh, holistic medicine. What does that mean? Just think whole, complete. We are multifaceted beings, with many layers, really. And that will obviously, in order to heal someone or help someone get them back to strength or a good state of vitality, or prolong their life, or whatever the purpose or reason or need may be, give them a quality portion of their life. So we need to address things on multiple aspects. And this is again tying into the reason why I study so many things, because we are so complex, right? Whereas with Western medicine, people they present symptoms. Doctors will say, okay, this is wrong with you. One, either we chop it off, chop it out, and take drugs or, classified as pharmaceuticals. And that's sort of where Western medicine stops, and I think, which I'm very, very pleased about, is that the modern day doctors now, or the new generation of doctors, are starting to go, that's not enough. NHS are starting to open up to alternative therapies, which is really, really good, because it doesn't stop there. And that must obviously come with experience, seeing that people are not getting better. You give pharmaceuticals for one thing, then that pharmaceuticals will create a new problem where you'll have to take more medication for. And then by the end of your life, when you're, between 60s to 80s or 90s, hopefully your goal is 100, as long as it's good quality life, right? Mistake with pharmaceuticals, because that can lead to an overdose and then again cause another problem that may not be reversible, or equally could be fatal. Sorry, I don't want to sound a bit morbid or negative, but I'm just trying to, paint quite a realistic picture, really. Whereas when we look at sort of, if we go from the west to the eastern ways, and that can, encompass Tibetan medicine, Chinese medicine, Indian medicine, which, is known as Ayurvedic medicine, is that there's philosophies that one layer is not enough. People presenting symptoms, but in Eastern medicines, they're trying to find the cause, and again, we do that through a trial and error basis of figuring out through the multiple layers or multi-layers, what could it be? You say, okay, let's try work on this, fix this. Okay, it's not that. Let's rule it out. Let's go to the next thing. But it's sort of like I always make a joke, like a science experiment. We have a hypothesis. We're working something out. Okay, if that doesn't work out, all right, let's go to the next best thing. But eventually, you either get cured, or the best thing is you're so much better. And, whereas in my work, people, I would say, probably are shocked that within, I would say, a typical 4 to 6 week period of working with me, we'll see drastic improvements, manage to get a part of their life back, or able to have a social life, or, various reasons. They're able to get a part of themselves back within a short period of time, whereas they've been with Western medicine for years and have really become very, I would say, pessimistic and negative. And the biggest thing I think, or I'd like to say, is that people lose hope. I think that's one of the biggest things that I have noticed that I give people, or I help remind people of, is that there is hope. There is a solution. There is something that we can do about it. And that goes back to the mind state, right? The mental health aspect. Like, if you believe you can heal, trust me, your body's going to be working with you. But if your mind goes, I don't think so, the doctors have said no, and this is just for life, and this is how it's going to be, you're not going to be working with your body. So, again, multifaceted. So going back to Tibetan medicine. So I didn't know this, and that is exactly the reason why I want to share it, because I just think it's bloody fascinating. So now that I've gotten, I would say, a taste, or, I've dipped my toe into multiple different cultural medicines, so, Western medicine, African medicine, what would I say? Where else? Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic, so Indian medicine, and now Tibetan medicine. These are the big prominent ones globally. It's come to light that Tibetan medicine is actually the most superior of them all. And I bet you're going to say, well, why would you say that? Why is that? And that's a good question. And it's really because, and I'm not going to quote like proper historical facts here. I'm just going to give you the layman's summary of it, because it's just so much easier that way and to retain, because, why most people be like, oh, I don't want to know the exact year, da-da-da-da-da. But basically, Tibet, I would assume most people have a general knowledge of, is that it's just a place where monks come from. It's very, religious in a sense. People use the word religious, but it's not religious. It's just a philosophy, a way of life that they follow, They do a lot of spiritual practices. You'll see typically a bald guy in an orange outfit. And that's sort of where the knowledge is limited to. But Tibet, over the years, or say even the centuries, have gone through quite a lot of political unrest. So traditionally in the eastern side of town, there would be kings, there'd be emperors that would be in power. But due to various reasons, people would come in, wars would take place, and they would try to disempower, or, get the king off the throne, or the emperor off their throne, and dictate a new way of life. And now Tibet was extremely rich with culture and knowledge in different sciences, even including astrology, medicine, performing arts. These are the three that are just coming to my mind. And the thing is that when the people took over, they wanted to get rid of all of this knowledge. So really ancient scripts and texts and knowledge were destroyed, which is just like, oh, that's very shocking. Because this is knowledge that would be so very powerful, very, very powerful in today's day and age. And what came from that is that you would hear something called oral transmission. So in order to keep the knowledge alive as best as possible, it was passed down from master to student, etc. So in some way it was safe, but you can't save everything, unfortunately. So the main, let's call it the main foundational, very deep-rooted core principle things were remembered. But it got to a point that, there would be war, then Buddhism would obviously dissipate, would get destroyed, then people would practice in secret. And then you'll get these things called secret tantra, so secret practices that people were doing behind the scenes so that no one would really know about it or take away the sacredness of it. And then eventually a new emperor would take power, and in order to restore, the culture, the history of this beautiful country, he said, he basically said, I would pay an extreme amount of gold and wealth to top physicians from around the world to come. So from what I've read, from Persia, from Greece, from India, from China, very, very top physicians came into Tibet and taught and sort of relayed the information. It was written down, it was transcribed, and then in summary, Tibetan medicine has encompassed, we would even say, global practices, and then summarized it into I'm going to go with the word hybrid. So it encompasses everything from around the world, yet then they add their little cherry on top, which deepens, because we're talking about the body, we're talking about the mind, we're talking about medicine, we're talking about behavior, we're talking about diet, and then again, for those who are open to it, the energetic aspect of ourselves, whether you call it spiritual, energetic, all of these interchangeable words, but spiritual practices as well that can help heal, because we're talking about karma now. Karma, what is karma? So people are like, oh, if you do something good in this life, you generate good karma. So let's call it like, I always make an analogy about making it like a bank account. You're putting plus into your account. You do something bad, you're going negative into your account. And you don't want to get into overdraft. That's just rule number one. Because when you take that bank account into your next life or future or countless future lives is the terminology they use, you want to make sure that you're going prepared rather than unprepared, because you don't know what to expect in the next life. So they're playing with all of these different kind of concepts. Okay, so, what you do in today or what you've done before will affect the outcomes of your health, your structure. And then when you come into, they use the word constitution to be specific. So when you come into this world, or born or incarnate into this world, you now, based on your past karma, have a certain constitution. And then that karma will also align you to the type of parents that you are born with, because their energies in the moment of conception, if they were very healthy or they were drinking, they were smoking at a bad time in their life, very stressed, combined creates you, right? So your karma plus their energies will then create the outcome of who you are born with as a constitution, and we're talking just literally your physical structure. Then it's going forward to say, okay, well, based on that, what are you doing in this life in terms of good deeds, your behavior, your mindset, your diet, how you're looking after yourself, all of that. And then what are you working with to enhance your constitution or doing to take away from your constitution? Which is very, very interesting for me. So in Tibetan medicine, they say that you're born with, there are 7 identified constitutions in this world, if you will, where you get 3 base ones, and then you'll get a hybrid combination of each other, which works out to 7. So interestingly, someone can walk into the room, and then you can just literally, by looking at them, and you'll do, in a sense, a diagnosis. You look into their eyes, you look at their tongue, and you look at how their body is structured, first of all, and then you can already have an idea of what kind of disorders or diseases that they will be, or have a predisposition to, or are susceptible to. and then be able to treat that. And then you give them the right, I would say, conditions, the diet, things to change in the mind, the behavior, the psychology, certain types of medicine, and you can get them into as best states as possible, or what we would call balance, homeostasis, to be able to manage it and function really well and with quality, until your final day in this life. So I thought, wow, that's really, really incredible. So I thought, I've come to Tibetan medicine at the end of all my things, and I think, gosh, I should have done it first, because it's, for me, a very, very interesting, sort of thing that I'm doing with my life, is that I'm very intrigued and curious about all the different cultural aspects of medicine, psychology. So I've gone, personally and studied all around the world, from different mentors, very powerful people in high places, and just really taken the good bits, the summaries, their life lessons, their experiences that they've passed on. And now I'm trying to make, in my mind's eye, this hybrid thing of what I think are similarities across board. What are the differentiating factors? What's better? What would be more useful to a certain patient than versus another? So it's very, very, I'm going to say cool. It's very, very cool. And I think, in a way, this is actually going to start, or is starting to show in my work at the moment. You'll call it the X factor, or the differentiating thing between me and the next similar occupational, you want to say therapist, that's working in the same line of work as me, or industry, because people are coming in with all varying conditions, illnesses, diseases, or uncertainty about being unwell, and Western medicine hasn't helped. And then, again, within a short period of time, I can, hopefully, with the goal, help you improve, right? So that's really, really great. And there's so many different belief systems within the Tibetan medicine culture, but it's nothing imposed, which is what I really, really love. Because I would tell people, because I'm born, or have been born, my father is Catholic, mother is Christian. In South Africa, you're raised as a Christian, you go to Christian schools, I'm going to say inverted commas, forced to go to church, you're forced to go to chapel, you're forced to do religious education. Again, these are forced upon you. Whereas in my case, I was like, well, I don't know what I am. But, you just sort of, when you don't have the right to have an opinion at a young age, you just go, okay, well, I guess that's just the way of the world. And then having moved here overseas into the UK, it's really, really open-minded and liberal, and most people don't follow a religion. They don't follow a belief system. Then you can have a family who believe all in different things, and it's widely accepted. So even though I was raised, inverted commas, as a Christian, I didn't really believe it. Not necessarily not believe in it. I do believe there's a higher power at be, but I don't necessarily give it a name, whereas people would say God or Allah, or certain prophets that, you have to follow. It's more of a liberal approach, which I find that I completely resonate with Buddhism, because Buddhism is not a religion. It's a philosophy. Just be kind to people, show compassion, try help others where you can. Don't be greedy. Don't do bad things. It's what I think everyone should be practicing, right? And you don't need to be religious to do that. And you don't have to necessarily go to a place of worship to do that, because, that saying, charity starts at home. For example, in my case, like, there is a practice for Buddhism that I could go to the Buddhist temple every Wednesday evening, but I think, no, I'd rather work and do good there, help people there, because I know in my heart that I'm helping. I know in my heart I'm trying to do good. I know in my heart I'm trying to be kind, compassionate. If a stranger on the streets are like, sorry, my phone died, can you please, can I borrow your phone quickly to do a phone call? Or, Someone, for example, at the counter didn't have enough money to pay for one item of grocery, give that extra £2. Or, someone's lost and help them with directions. Or, you don't always necessarily have to go out your way, because most people, I don't think, do that. But if you can show an act of kindness or do a good deed, just do it. Like, I really, really think it's important to just do it, because I've noticed people have and I wouldn't say the word is expectation, but just sort of like I would say a belief system that I'm a good person, people should help me, right? And when I translate that, I go, okay, that means take, right? You're a taker. But if everyone is a taker, then therefore no one would be a giver, right? And we want to look for givers too, right? And therefore we need to create the balance. So in order to receive, not receive with expectation, always receive with gratitude and humility, you should give. And ironically, even though this is not a good fixed mathematical equation, it's the more you give, the more you receive, right? So I'm just ranting on there, but I do find it really, really important, because I think life can be really, really hard. I really do. I think life can throw curveballs, can throw unexpected sorry, I'm still stuttering. I need coffee today. Unexpected situations, things you're not emotionally prepared for. Trauma and suffering are, how would I word it, it's a guaranteed thing as part of the human life. It's absolutely certain. You will suffer a trauma of some sort. Death is a trauma, but that's guaranteed. Death of a loved one, maybe hurting yourself, or knowing someone who's been hurt, or someone betraying you, or someone lying to you, or there's always going to be bad that happens in the world, but how you manage it, how you make, how you can maybe transform it into a positive thing, or maybe just being the role model to not recreate those scenarios. If you set a good example, because, predominantly most people have children. Children are just like a literal replica, mini version, mini me of you. And you're setting the example. And then you think to yourself, well, I hope they don't grow up to be like me. Well, then don't continue being that aspect of yourself that you don't want. Be the person you want to be, because it's that expression about fake it till you make it kind of thing. If you keep doing something or behaving as someone you want to be, then by nature and default, that's what you become, right? You got to keep tricking your mindset, keep tricking your behavior, keep tricking it until it's no longer a trick or it's no longer fake, and it just becomes, whether that's confidence, whether that's maybe practicing a skill, like maybe, for example, some people are like, I'm really terrible at cooking. If you keep making the same dish, eventually it's going to get better. What it just boils down to is how much effort you're willing to put in, how much discipline you're willing to put in, how much motivation you're willing to put in. The consistency, that is the real nutcracker in all of this. And then tying it back to the whole theme of the subject is, this is what Tibetan medicine encompasses, right? Because energetically, when we feel good, we radiate. When we feel good, we don't have stress in our body. We digest food properly. Our mindset is good. We have the motivation to go to, for example, gym every day, or go out and see friends. And when you're, with that vibe, I feel like everyone has moments in their life they remember they were just like on fire, is, the common phrase used, or they're just doing so well, or feel in flow. The people like, I was in my flow state, or, we all have these moments where we can instantly go back like this and go, I remember then. I remember that feeling. And who doesn't want to be around a person like that? Because it's just a gorgeous vibe, gorgeous energy to be around, right? Now think about it. If you had your tribe, your team, your group of friends, and you're all like that, like that's an incredible, nourishing thing to be around. But again, it starts with you, right? You can't expect things of other people. Do it yourself, do it for you, and you'll naturally see people around you will be influenced, because when you do things authentically, with purity, with kindness and compassion, like a do-gooder, that is contagious. That is absolutely contagious. And you get people to start going like, oh, maybe I'm going to try that. Or, that looks really good. Or you look really well and happy. I definitely want to get some of that. I want to try that out, right? So it all starts there. So it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. And this is what I've come to, I'm going to say, solidify. These are things I already seen and felt and thought for a long time. But it's nice to have now found that in a medicine, I'm going to say course, a medicine course that encompasses all of that, plus all the basics of medicine and diet and psychology, because it's very, very powerful. So I use the word that we work as a healer, but a healer can be interchangeably used as a doctor, making sure people get better. That's really all I care about. That's my mission in this life. I just want to help as many people as possible, on a really big, grand scale, grand scheme of things. And, hopefully, these podcasts are going out there, the books I'm going to write, get out there and, just share. Like, I'm such a share bear. I want to share to help everyone, because life is or can be a struggle, right? So we need to support each other. That is our natural, that's our natural state. We're tribes people. And yet in today's modern society, we are so isolated. And the worst part is it's voluntary. People stay at home, stuck at home on the computer, work too much, constantly feeling under a threat that they have to do things. And they're too busy doing. And then I say we're not human doings, we're human beings. How can we be? What is your being like? What do you need? What makes you happy? You need to feed your soul some more of that. Feed more, Because people, when they come to me, despite it being a medical or health treatment, it's nurturing the body. It's giving TLC, self-care. And then you think how many hours a week / a month / a year that you work and you put into giving, maybe, for example, to your work. But when you compare statistically to how much you give to yourself, it's very frightening. Maybe people give an hour a month, if lucky, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And I really want to encourage a philosophy that maybe hopefully from this voice note, from this podcast, that can instill in your mind, just plant that seed. How can you give to yourself? Make time for yourself. Put it in your diary. Whether that's a bath, whether that's a run, whether it's a dinner, whether it's going out with friends, whether it's going to movies, whether it's going for a massage, whether it's going for a treatment, like everything. So to everyone, their source of happiness is different. Their source of battery recharging is different, but making the time for it is all the same. And I think that's really, really important, because if you give to yourself, your productivity will fly. Feeling drained will be reduced. Needing to run away from things, like, oh, I got to leave my job, I got to leave my partner, I want to leave my kids, all of that. No, just give to yourself. And you'll be surprised at how much that already will change you and your health. Just loving and nurturing yourself. It's such a big theme. We all suffer from it. But we can also equally heal ourselves. And that's also a beautiful theme, is that you are your own best healer, right? Practitioners like me, just helping you on the sidelines, just giving you a little nudge, giving you a little bit of guidance. But you do all the work. And therefore you should enjoy all the rewards. So just again going back. So that's what Tibetan medicine encompasses. It's very powerful, And the best part about it all is that it's all natural. Things that, we can fix, work together, improve. And there's no side effects because it's working with you in your body, your mind, and natural things from the earth that don't have negative side effects that would typically have, like you see with pharmaceuticals in Western medicine or allopathic medicine. So, when I went to America, been a few times, but, one specific moment I remember is I was in a hotel and I switched on the TV thinking like, oh, I wonder what American TV's like, and literally every 5 seconds there is a pharmaceutical advert. And at the end, it's actually horrifying. You could almost equate it to a horror movie when they say like, if you take this, you can have da-da-da-da-da-da, and they fast forward it like 3,000 times the speed because it's just not nice things to hear. And then like, and death, boom, next advert. And you just think, why would people take this? Like, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. They're selling it, but they're putting you off it at the same time. So it just doesn't make sense in my mind. Anyway, so that's absolutely exciting. So Tibetan medicine is the new one up and coming to the clinic. And maybe just to add it on the side note, because if you listen to this, right? You're going to listen to the whole thing, hopefully. But also recently have been introducing into the clinic IV drip therapy and certain what we call intramuscular, so injections in the arm or the bum, shots, which is basically being able to help you with hydration, all the different shots for different reasons. If you want to help improve any conditions, maybe have any things like cholesterol or maybe diabetes or maybe any cardiac or cardiovascular conditions or diseases, maybe, for example, cancer. Your immune system's low. You maybe have viruses in your body, whether it's parasites, even COVID. COVID at the moment is super, super active. It's spreading. When I was in the hospital the other day, one of the doctors said to me that this current COVID is the fastest spreading so far. And just alone in this week, I know personally in the small town that I stay in, that about 10, or maybe now 11 people just in this week alone have caught it in my circle. So please be aware, please be alert, and please top up on the nutrition, right? And equally, that's what I'm able to help and administer, right? So we have different injections for that, whether it's for energy, whether, for some people about fat burning, getting things flowing in the body, maybe with brain fog, with dehydration, immune system building. For example, vitamin D is also a very, very powerful one because if you're based in the UK, there's not a lot of sun, so we need that. That will affect our moods as well. So yeah, that's the new up and coming exciting things that are being introduced. And I think that's about it, because I don't know the time that I've been talking, and it's probably just because it feels like a cloud, but I think I'll leave it on that note. So just today's, in a sense, summary is just to talk about the fascinating new modality that I've picked up and how powerful it is, in a sense, in my opinion, how superior it is to the other medicines out there in the world, because this is a hybrid modality with something extra on top. So yeah, so maybe stay tuned for more and I'll start to release more about it. But in the up and coming future podcasts, I've had a request, well, actually a few, to discuss each episode about all the different therapies I do. So I'll start to explain that, because I think I do the weird and wonderful, so it's not very common knowledge. So I'll be able to help with that and just give you the lowdowns, the benefits, the contraindications, what it's all about, why people do it, and what, how can it help you really. And then I'll probably as well, just as an extra thing, just say what are quite complementary between the things that I do, because in a sense now, a lot of the things I do can be done in packages where, one thing will help the next thing, which helps the next thing, da 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 da, and then you just leave like Iron Man when you go out the therapy room. And we'll do all of those. And then what I'd like to do after that is I've got, I would say, quite easy, useful, practical, and understandable bite-sized episodes that I'm going to make about nutrition. You know, understanding what certain vitamins are, what they do, where you can get them from different foods, you know, about calories, what you have to look out for. Just understanding basic nutrition, I think, will be very, very beneficial to those out there, because, you know, it should be common knowledge, but unfortunately it's not. So hopefully I can set the benchmark and precedent, and hopefully be able to get people out there knowing about these basic things. So you know how to make the right decisions for yourself, or the educated decisions, or if you're going to make the bad ones, then you know you're being a bad girl or a bad boy, right? So, and then equally, once you do that, then you know how to remedy it after. So on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. So thank you so much for listening today. And I look forward to maybe seeing you in clinic if you are interested to come in for a session, or just either repeat or maybe ask about more questions about what I spoke about. And we'll take it from there. So have a good day, night, wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you next week with the next podcast. Over and out. This is the Medical Mindset Coach. Bye.